Good evening, you're watching News Today at 9 p.m. I am Preeti Choudhry. Our big talking point, it's 75 years of the Indian Constitution. What we've seen on the floor of the Parliament is heated debate, but sadly, the level of discourse has been reduced to just a game of one-upmanship. What we should have witnessed were glorious speeches that could have gone down in the annals of parliamentary history, but what we have witnessed is a battle of ideologies. That's our big talking point. And our top focus, a two-day debate on 75 years of the Indian Constitution started in Rajya Sabha today, Monday. It seemed to take off from where Prime Minister Modi ended the debate in Lok Sabha. What is evident is that the BJP and the Congress are locked in a face-off of ideologies. Mallikarjun Kharge used his speech to rebut point by point the points made by Prime Minister Modi in Lok Sabha, mainly on Nehru. We start by what the Prime Minister said on the first amendment made by the interim government and Kharge's response to it.
1951 में जबकि चुनी हुई सरकार नहीं थी, उन्होंने ऑर्डिनेंस करके संविधान को बदला और किया क्या? अभिव्यक्ति की आजादी पर हमला कर दिया गया। और ये संविधान निर्माताओं का भी अपमान था, क्योंकि ऐसी बातें कोई संविधान सभा में नहीं आई होगी, ऐसा नहीं है, लेकिन वहां उनकी चली नहीं। तो बाद में जैसे ही मौका मिला, उन्होंने अभिव्यक्ति की आजादी को उस पर उन्होंने हथौड़ा मार दिया।
मैं सदन को बताना चाहता हूं कि उस दौरान स्टेट ऑफ मद्रास वर्सेस चंपकम दुर्यराजन मामले में मद्रास स्टेट के रिजर्वेशन के फैसले को सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने खारिज कर दिया था। सरदार पटेल जी ने 3 जुलाई 1950 को इस बारे में पंडित नेहरू को विस्तार से पत्र लिखकर संविधान संशोधन को ही समस्या का हल बताया। पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू के नाम से सभी को इंसल्ट कर रहे हैं। वो जोश में आकर नेहरू जी ने वो किया। अरे नेहरू जी क्या करना चाहते थे? वो पटेल भी था, उसके साथ थे, अंबेडकर उनके साथ थे, और वो SC ST बैकवर्ड एजुकेशनल और एम्प्लॉयमेंट के लिए जो यहाँ पर उनको मार पड़ी थी, उसको ठीक करने के लिए अमेंडमेंट लाए, और वो पहला अमेंडमेंट था। अगर ये पहला अमेंडमेंट देश के लिए नहीं, शोषितों के लिए नहीं, तो आप कह सकते थे। मुख्यमंत्रियों को नेहरू जी ने पत्र लिखा था, जिसका जिक्र मोदी जी ने अपने भाषण में तथ्यों को तोड़ मरोड़ कर नेहरू जी को बदनाम करने के लिए किया, जिसके लिए उनको देश से माफी मांगना चाहिए। ये मेरा डिमांड है।
12 कांग्रेस की प्रदेश की कमेटियों ने, 12 प्रदेश कमेटियों ने सरदार पटेल के नाम पर सहमति दी थी। नेहरू जी के साथ एक भी कमेटी नहीं थी, नॉट अ सिंगल। संविधान के तहत सरदार साहब ही देश के प्रधानमंत्री बनते हैं, लेकिन लोकतंत्र में श्रद्धा नहीं, खुद के संविधान पर विश्वास नहीं, खुद के ही संविधान को स्वीकारना नहीं, और सरदार साहब देश के प्रधानमंत्री नहीं बन सके और ये बैठ गए। जो लोग अपनी पार्टी के संविधान को, जो लोग अपनी पार्टी के संविधान को नहीं मानते, वो कैसे देश के संविधान को स्वीकार कर सकते हैं?
तो 1946 के कैबिनेट मिशन प्लान के तहत कांग्रेस ने एग्जीक्यूटिव काउंसिल में नेहरू जी को वाइस प्रेसिडेंट बनाया था। इसीलिए उन्होंने 1947 में अंतरिम सरकार का नेतृत्व किया। देश का पहला आम चुनाव 51-52 में हुआ, जिसमें नेहरू जी प्रधानमंत्री बने। तब सरदार पटेल जी इस दुनिया में उस वक्त नहीं थे। मोदी जी जैसे सरदार पटेल ने 14 नवंबर 1949 को नेहरू जी के जन्मदिन पर लिखे बधाई पत्र मैं पढ़ता हूं, आपकी इजाजत हो। कुछ स्वार्थ प्रेरित लोगों ने हमारे विषय में भ्रांतियां फैलाने की कोशिश की है और कुछ भोले व्यक्ति उन पर विश्वास भी कर लेते हैं। ये जो है ये खुद वल्लभ भाई पटेल जी ने लिखा है, लेकिन वास्तव में हम लोग आजीवन सहकारियों और बंधुओं की भांति साथ काम करते हैं। अवसर की मांग के अनुसार हमने परस्पर एक दूसरे के दृष्टिकोण को अनुसार अपने को बदलता है और एक दूसरे के मतभेदों का भी सम्मान किया है, जैसा कि गहरा विश्वास होने पर ही किया जाता है।
All right, so that was one part. Another big talking point has been the issue of emergency. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, who opened the debate for the government in Rajya Sabha, detailed how the Indira Gandhi government cracked down on individual rights. It was also countered by Jairam Ramesh. Listen in.
Coming in November 76, the amendment demonstrates the progression of the Prime Minister and her government from having near absolute power without a coherent program other than the protection of her prime ministry to power expressed through fundamental constitutional change. So, unquote. Exactly the point that I'm putting forth about emergency, the way in which 42nd Amendment passed through, how opposition leaders were all in the jail, not one person to oppose in the Rajya Sabha, in the Lok Sabha, just 5 of them speaking against it. When Granville Austin has said this, poor Jairam Ramesh did not mind quoting something else from Austin, but ignored this.
I have Granville Austin in my hands right now, and the same Granville Austin writes that the 44th Amendment was passed by the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha to override the 42nd Amendment, large parts of the 42nd Amendment. And who voted on the 7th of December 1978 to repeal parts of the 42nd Amendment? It was Indira Gandhi herself.
That I have right from the beginning said. Yes, Der Aya Durustaya is what the Hindi language gives me. But the fact remains, and I'm glad that she changed her mind. It was such an improper thing to do during an extended tenure of the parliament. And an improper thing, even worse to do, putting the opposition and then seeking a constitutional amendment. So at least in 78, after a massive defeat, which of course later she overturned and won the election and came, that's a process, that's an electoral process. That is the electoral process. And electoral process does teach lessons. Does teach lessons, and Srimati Indira Gandhi learned that lesson.
Well, one thing, viewers, would be prudent to say that one was expecting a level of debate which would justify, somewhere down the line, pay tribute to 75 years of the Indian Constitution. And that brings us to our big questions this evening, because what we have seen over the course of what happened in Rajya Sabha, earlier in Lok Sabha, was a debate on 75 years of the Indian Constitution reduced to us against them, or to a game of one-upmanship. What we saw was a Modi versus Nehru-Gandhi family fight, not so much as a tribute to 75 years of the most important document on which stands our country. Eye on the past, no vision for future is what we witnessed. What we witnessed was a battle of ideologies, no tribute. Let's take these questions to our panelists this evening. Joining me, Jyoti Mani, Congress MP, R.P. Singh, BJP spokesperson, Sanjay Jha, political analyst, Neerja Choudhry, senior journalist and columnist, as well as Rajat Sethi, political analyst. Neerja Choudhry, for somebody who's covered many seasons of the parliament, you were with us the last time and last week, and we did discuss that it's a time to temper down, bring down the temperatures rising in parliament. What we've seen is on the contrary, Neerja Choudhry, because what should have been glorious debates going down in the annals of parliamentary history, what is right now has been an us against them, a game of one-upmanship. It's Modi versus Nehru-Gandhi.
Yeah, you are on the screen, your straps are really capturing the spirit of the last days and the debate on 75 years of the Constitution that stood us in good stead. Our democracy with all its fault lines and shortcomings, we are still, it's an incredible democracy. We are going ahead with it. And the world had thought India backward, poor, will never be able to last out as a democracy. So what have been the high points, our constitution makers? What did they envision? Where have we stuck to it? Where have we failed? I agree with you. It became a Modi versus Nehru-Gandhi family. And I don't mind one-upmanship in a debate. Getting the better of your opponent. But what is sad is that it was a debate marked by bitterness and at points even a viciousness. And I think I agree that it lacked at the end a vision which would have really felt the country, made the country proud and inspired the country to look ahead. Those notes were missing. It was a, slugfest, getting at each other, and of course we must know what happened in the emergency, and no doubt about it, the constitution was changed to the detriment of the fundamental rights and fundamental freedoms of citizens. All that is a dark period, and I hope we will never repeat that kind of a period again. But I agree with you, it didn't leave one uplifted at all at the end of that debate.
Well, and that's the tragic part. But, many would suggest at least we saw some business being conducted, because what we've seen is washout after washout where Parliament is concerned. R.P. Singh, to bring you in, right from the First Amendment in 1951 to overturning the Shah Bano judgment by Rajiv Gandhi to emergency, all of that was bought in. So let's just go one by one. When it came down to the First Amendment, Mr. Kharge, today R.P. Singh, stood up and made it very clear that the BJP, pointing out to the speech of the Prime Minister in Lok Sabha on Saturday, has distorted facts and even disrespected the contribution of Sardar Patel. Why I say that? Because it was insinuated that the First Amendment was bought in by Nehru and the Congress. Having said that, it was more to do with the Constituent Assembly, where all of them signed in on that. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, a part of the Constituent Assembly, number one. Number two, on July 3rd, 1950, Sardar Patel wrote a letter to Nehru stating that constitutional amendments were the only solution to pressing problems. And I'll quote with what he said, because this is a letter which is out in public. As you say, we have involved ourselves in so many legal and constitutional difficulties that we do not know how to overcome them. My own feeling is that very soon we shall have to sit down and consider constitutional amendments. So R.P. Singh, today you had Mr. Kharge, who has accused the Prime Minister using the floor of the Lok Sabha to distort facts and disrespect the legacy even of the likes of Mr. Patel.
Preeti, did Mr. Patel said that you want to bring it now or by an elected government or by a appointed government? That is the issue. Was it saying that? Was it so much pressing that we need to bring amendments there and then in 1950? Or, yes, if need be, they can be brought, but by an elected government. Government which has not been elected till that time, when they're bringing amendments. How that cohesive of the complete process of the Constitution Assembly. So, this is the point. And secondly, Neerja, you said that 75 happened and an emergency happened and you have faced it, you have seen it with your own eyes. Why not country should remember that again and again? why should we run away from the emergency? Or why should we run away the way the complete constitution was strangled? Give me a second, please, Preeti.
Yeah, make your point, sir. Make your point.
The complete constitution was strangled, where the liberty was strangled. When we are product of the emergency. I mean, had there been no emergency, RP Singh would not have been in public and social life. And we have seen with our eyes how the opposition was thrown into the jail. So, and how judiciary was made to kneel down, or how media was made to kneel down, except one of the papers which India also has observed, Indian Express stood by that times. So,
okay, RP Singh, as I bring in Jyoti Mani into this conversation, I'll reframe and ask that question again. The First Amendment was bought by the Constituent Assembly, not primarily by Nehru himself or the Congress, members of which were even the likes of Shyama Prasad Mukherjee. Do you think that was misinterpreted?
Is that for me or
for you, RP Singh? For you, sir.
Okay. So the fact is, who initiated that?
The Constituent Assembly, sir.
No, ma'am. Please. Give me a minute, I'll give you the complete detail. It was initiated by Pandit Nehru. Constituent Assembly only went ahead with it, but it was Pandit Nehru who initiated that amendment.
But sir, there were many members of the Constituent Assembly and they all signed off on it, and Patel, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee were all a part of that Constituent Assembly is the point that I'm trying to make. But let me also bring in Jyoti Mani into this conversation, because Jyoti Mani, the Congress has been accused very pointedly of trying to weaponize the Constitution and use it for political gain. And there have been credible points that have been made on the floor of the House, not just by the Prime Minister as well, today in Rajya Sabha by Nirmala Sitharaman. Whether it's an emergency, which the Congress can never run away from, number one. Number two, the biggest of it all. The Constitution was altered 75 times in 60 years during the Congress's tenure is a charge that you have to live with.
I think if I am not wrong, I think it's 84 times. That's what Rajnath Singh ji quoted in the parliament. See, except emergency, and Indira Gandhi ji herself repeal it. It's not the Prime Minister Modi or BJP has to tell about the Congress party or country the emergency, because Indira ji herself has apologized and repealed it. After that, she won the election with a thumping mandate. After that, Congress party has won many elections. See, we have some 80 plus amendments in the Congress in the Constitution. You just go one by one. We, the Congress party, directly challenge the Prime Minister and the BJP to come on the floor of the same parliament, have another one debate. We go amendment by amendment by amendment. All the amendment brought by the Congress party, we are ready to debate. Will the BJP and the Prime Minister ready to debate on those amendments? Because all other amendments has brought, you might say, Shaban, it has a different view from different people. But all other amendments brought by the Congress party is the visionary amendments. One amendment which I can quote for myself, 73rd, 74th amendment of the Panchayat Raj Act, which reserved women 33% reservation for women. I am a product of that. I am someone from a very remote village, from a farmer family, studied in a government school. Now I become a member of parliament, and I am sitting in the same house where this kind of debates is going on because of the 73rd, 74th amendment. Like this amendment, we can say every amendment how the turn the country in a very different way. Kharge ji was rightly said, the first constitutional amendment has been brought to save the reservation in my state. Still, Tamil Nadu is the only state in the country we have 69% reservation. Whatever the development we are having in Tamil Nadu, 69% reservation is the foundation of that. Let me quickly finish in 1 minute. See, from Prime Minister to BJP spokesperson to last mile BJP cadre, speaks the only lies and misinformation. It's unfortunate that Prime Minister treats the floor of the Parliament and the election campaign in the same way. In the election campaign, he said, when we talk about unemployment, we talk about the price rise, we talk about Mr. Adani, Prime Minister say, this Congress people will steal your buffalo, they will steal your Mangal Sutra. This is
Jyoti Mani, allow me a rebuttal as I open the debate to Sanjay Jha and Rajat Sethi. Allow me,
but Nehru is a statesman.
Jyoti Mani, allow me a rebuttal, because you said that other than emergency, every amendment that has come through the term when your government was in power was progressive. But that's not the case, Jyotimani. You know, one can continue to suggest why must we look at the past, but when 75 years of the Indian Constitution is... Allow me. When 75 years of the Indian Constitution is being discussed, then the past will be raked in. So allow me to give you examples. Constitution 38th Amendment was made under Indira Gandhi, which barred judicial review of the emergency proclamation, judicial review of ordinance by the president or governors. Constitution 39th Amendment, which was solely made to preempt the Supreme Court. Constitution 40th Amendment, which placed an anti-media law in the 9th schedule to bar judicial review. Constitution 42nd Amendment, which you know very well, was the most substantial of all amendments, primarily reducing the constitution that would be played with the political establishment by inserting clauses that rendered legislative acts beyond the purview of judicial review. So, Jyotimani, it's all well and good to say, yes, we had the darkest moment. We are sorry for that. We've apologized, which was the emergency. But all of this will be bought in when we discuss 75 years of the Constitution, ma'am.
No, listen. Give me some time. No, give me 30 seconds. I precisely said what you are exactly said. Because there are 84 amendments. You can read out only 4 amendments. I'm pretty much sure Prime Minister and BJP cannot read more than these 4 amendments. That's what I'm saying. Just because of your cherry pick things and spreading the misinformation and lies against the Congress party, which this country is not going to believe those things.
You cannot say I'm cherry picking and spreading the misinformation and lies. This is all documentary evidence, ma'am.
Prime Minister,
you are cherry picking by saying it was only emergency.
No, that's what I'm saying. Read out the progressive amendments which have Indira Gandhi ji abolished Provipers. Indira Gandhi ji nationalized banks. Indira Gandhi ji brought land reforms. I can go on and on like Nehru ji.
True. How does
that
change?
Amendment?
How does that take away from this?
Extended by,
you're right. How does that take away from what I quoted?
You want, see, the charges, see, that's what I'm saying. The Prime Minister to media anchor talks in the same manner. We are used to this. Country also used to this. This is nothing newness. See, I am saying if you are neutral, you can read four amendment like this. You can read four progressive amendment like this. But when you cherry pick the Prime Minister voice, you cherry pick the BJP voice, it's very clear that actually
what is rather amazing is that you can, ma'am, the fact is, you can turn around and you can blame the media anchors, you can blame us for all you want, but it's not cherry picking. The fact is, facts are there, Ms. Jyotimani, they will be put out whether you like it or not. And let me also say they'll be put out for the BJP equally, whether the BJP likes it or not. Right? So they'll be put out evenly for the both of you. I don't want to get into an argument with you. That's not the that is not the point of this debate.
Give me 30 seconds.
Ma'am, I'll come back to you and I will give you more than 30 seconds. Allow me to open up the debate. I want to bring in Sanjay Jha into this conversation. Sanjay Jha, the point is, yes, we can't live in the past. But when you're talking about 75 years of the Constitution, the past is one which the present stands on.
Preeti, the fact remains that we live in current times. And while the past is a reference point, I mean, it's absolutely tragic. The way the BJP tries to malign Pandit Nehru, I can tell you in no democracy that I know of. I mean, I have seen Democrat leaders or presidents in America not rubbishing Abraham Lincoln, although Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. I mean, frankly, the practice is not even to mention your immediate predecessor, but Mr. Modi is completely obsessed. I can understand the insecurity or the inferiority complex of the BJP, but to make it so pathological, I'm sure the people of the country can see it. But let me quickly answer your question. The tragedy of the debates, and I have watched a bit of it, is the fact that under the BJP government, India is today talked about all over the world as the global misinformation and disinformation capital of the world. And if leaders in the sacrosanct floor of parliament can indulge in a wanton abuse of basic democratic ethics, I think as citizens, we should all be extremely worried about it. My friend, Mr. RPN Singh, talked about the emergency. I can tell you, I'm glad Jyoti Mani has said, that the emergency was wrong and that's the way it should be. But there is a difference. The Congress party actually apologized for the emergency, and more important, it was officially declared and lasted 21 months. I want to tell you on your show, what is more dangerous for India is a stealthy, creeping dictatorship under the guise of a democratically elected party. What you're seeing in India is an undeclared, basically official emergency, which means that they take away your fundamental rights and you're not aware of it because no bold proclamation has been made. Okay. And I can tell you that India has lived in an unofficial emergency for the last 120 months. And one more evidence of where this party has a respect for constitution. The electoral bond was deemed by the Supreme Court to be unconstitutional because, and I want to mention it, because that instrument is probably the biggest scam since 1947, where a government of the country operated like a mafia. And my second point, Places of Worship Act. I'm reading in the papers that the government of India is going to challenge the Places of Worship Act. The last I heard, the Supreme Court called the Places of Worship Act as part of the basic structure.
We don't know that because the top court of the country has given now, I think, a little less than 4 weeks for the central government to come out on what their response is on the Places of Worship Act. So, what you're reading on the papers is in the papers right now. Let's wait for the government to file their reply, but your submissions are taken. And Rajat Sethi, and I want to bring you in, and I want to touch on what Jyoti Mani says, because she does have a point. You're talking about 75 years of the Indian Constitution. Yes, you can pull out every possible wrong, because 60 years of that were governed by the Congress. So there's got to be a lot that you can pull out against the Congress. But then there's been a lot of good in that as well. You had the opportunity to make it slightly bigger, then attack and go after the Gandhis and the Congress. You could have spoken of, the dark periods in the Indian Constitution. You could have spoken about emergency. You could have spoken about those constitutional amendments like 1 and 42. But you could have also spoken of land reforms that were brought in by the Congress, bank nationalization, food security, Manrega, which you took on further, to the effect at a point where most other countries did not have adult franchise, leave alone giving women the right to vote. It happened through the Congress and it happened through the power of the Constitution. If you had balanced, in terms of the BJP, the Prime Minister, had put out a balanced speech, if they had looked at it more holistically rather than a political speech, things might have turned out very differently in Parliament.
Well, Constitution as a subject was rigged up over the past 1.5 years. And it was brought to this culmination point wherein we are having a debate. Several accusations were thrown at by the Congress party, notwithstanding the fact that BJP ensured that none of the president rule-related constitutional provisions are invoked around the country, barring just a very, very few exceptional cases. So would you imagine that Rahul Gandhi will go around the town drum beating about how BJP has actually upholded the constitutional provisions and not gone in with an overreach? Of course not. This is politics. Now, let me, go back to the core point where you started the debate. You made a small mistake, Preeti ji, and I'm sorry to correct you. You said the Constituent Assembly brought the First Amendment. The Constituent Assembly was dissolved on the way the Constitution was adopted, which is 1950, 26 November. After that, the Constituent Assembly was converted into something called a Provisional Parliament.
Yes.
It is the Provisional Parliament.
But the Constituent Assembly was a part of the Provisional Parliament.
No.
Yes.
No, Preeti, this is what I'm saying. Allow me.
Make your point, Rajan.
Yes.
After the Constitution was adopted on the 26th of January, after it was submitted, on that day, Constituent Assembly in its format was actually dissolved. It translated and converted itself into something called a Provisional Parliament, which stayed for a few months till formal elections were not conducted. After that, the first Lok Sabha was formed. It is during this interim period of 1.5 years, were these provisions brought in by a body which did not have the complete mandate to come out and amend the Constitution because they did not have the popular vote with them. They did it by circumventing, using that buffer period to actually go about changing the Constituent Assembly's will around freedom of expression. So there is a technical thing which you need to...
Let me, okay, because I thought you were going to bring it up, so allow me to come back, Rajat, because you said that I made a mistake. No. Let me tell you, the Constituent Amendment, the first amendment was passed by the Provisional Parliament that you speak of, which, Rajat Sethi, comprised of the members of the Constituent Assembly itself. So by questioning the Amendment Act carried out in 1951, as in the BJP somewhere down the line questioned the intent of the Constituent Assembly. Let me also tell you, the people who signed off on the amendment were the likes of Shyama Prasad Mukherjee as well as Mr. Patel.
Forget it. I am not even talking about it. Let me first of all pinpoint it.
You made a point, so I'm coming back and correcting you on it. Yes, make your point.
Allow me to please speak. You asked me a question. Constituent Assembly's mandate was to frame, deliberate upon, discuss and write every single provisions of the Constitution, including what is included in freedom of expression. Thereafter, in the interim period, that provisional parliament was only responsible for conducting the elections to the Lok Sabha. It had no business to come in and amend the constitution, which was duly deliberated, signed by all the parties and handed over. This was brought in unilaterally by Prime Minister Nehru.
No, that's contended. No, Rajat Sethi, no. I'm sorry, okay, that is contended because it had the bona fide signatures of Sardar Patel, it had the bona fide signatures of Shyama Prasad Mukherjee on it. But it's not a debate on the first amendment.
He was also part of the provisional government.
They were all part. The Constituent Assembly members were part of the Provisional Parliament who signed off on this. Now, whether or not the Provisional Parliament could or had the mandate to bring in an amendment is a separate thing. But if you're questioning the amendment, then you're questioning the Constituent Assembly. Members of the Constituent Assembly. It's not about that.
I have a technical question.
Rajat Sethi, can I, the deal is you and I can go back and forth. It's not about you and I. You and I, like I said, you and I can go back and forth. It's not about you and I. Allow me to open the debate. I want to bring in right now. Sir, allow me to open the debate. It's not about the Provisional Parliament or the Constituent Assembly. It's a part, the debate is larger, which is about 75 years of the Constitution, which is playing out in Parliament. We can go back and forth on this.
You cannot speak over me, Preeti ji. That is deeply insulting.
Sir, you've spoken ad nauseum. Here, I'll give you 20 more seconds. It's not a debate between me and Rajat Sethi. There are other panelists.
Come on, please allow me to speak. If you don't want to speak, why do you invite me to debate?
Sir, you have gotten so much time. Rajat Sethi,
you are interrupting me for half the time. You have interrupted my flow.
I'll give you 20 seconds. Speak.
You will not
lower your volume and speak. It's not a debate between you and I. Go ahead, speak, sir.
Now you will not intervene me for the next 30 seconds.
You're no one to tell me what I need to do or not. But go ahead. You get 20 seconds. Make your point. There are other panelists. Respect their time.
I'm walking out of your discussion if you do not respect your guests. First of all, you have zero understanding.
Feel free to do what you want to do. Feel free to do what you want to do. I can go back. I can give you the amount of time you've spoken. It's not a debate between you and I. You have 20 seconds. Make your point.
My God. On 26th January, when the Constitution was adopted formally, did it had a provision in that Constitution of the 26th January 1950 that a provisional parliament can come out and amend that Constitution? Tell me in that constitutional provision, where was it mentioned that a provisional parliament, which was only in place to conduct the elections, can actually bring in the amendment that was brought in?
Have you made your point, Rajat Sethi?
Did not have the mandate.
Have you made your point? You made your point?
I have made my point, and thank you so much for having me on your show.
Now there's something that I said. You can contest whether the Provisional Parliament... Sir, now allow me to open up the debate. You can contest whether the Provisional Parliament at that point of time had the mandate to make a constitutional amendment. But you cannot question that the members of the Constituent Assembly who were part of the Provisional Parliament then signed off on this amendment because they did. Now, having said that, let's just move on. I want to bring in Neerja Choudhry back into this conversation. Neerja Choudhry, do you think things would have panned out very differently if, with what Jyoti Mani also said, which what RP Singh as well, that both sides were a little bit more magnanimous with each other because ultimately we're discussing 75 years of the Indian Constitution. You could have spoken of the ills of, governance in terms of the Congress's 60 years and the constitutional amendments, but you could have also spoken of the good in it. And it cuts both ways.
Yeah, I think you are right. We could have gone in for a more holistic picture of each of the, periods that we covered. And certainly the Congress, while there is the dark emergency period where all the constitutional amendments were done to keep the leader in power and to, as I said earlier, to undo the fundamental rights and hurt the powers of the judiciary. We know you've gone over those laws, and we can go over them again. But there are the progressive amendments that the Congress did bring. Most of the constitutional amendments were not negative. For instance, even Rajiv Gandhi, who the Prime Minister said was not for reservations for the OBCs when the Mandal report was accepted by Vishwanath Pratap Singh. He was the one who first initiated that reservation in local bodies for women, 1/3 reservation. That idea was mooted in Rajiv Gandhi's time, that those bills could not be passed because there was resistance from the state governments. Finally, it was passed in 1993 by P.V. Narasimha Rao's government as a result of what the Congress spokesperson has been saying, that so many women have been benefited. And today there's a large corpus of women who are leaders in the local bodies ready to play a role, a more active role at the state level and at the national level. So one can look at many amendments.
But Neerja Choudhary, as I bring in RP Singh, but it also cuts both ways. The Congress could have done the same, returned the favor back in all the good that has happened in the last since 2014, the last 10 years. All right, RP Singh, I want to get you, bringing you back into this conversation. The Congress has concertedly spoken, even on the floor of the Parliament, not just the Congress, opposition MPs who've gotten up and said that, okay, those were the ills of the past. Look at what's happening in the current context. There's an undeclared emergency. Look what's happening in Manipur.
Well, Manipur is a different situation. I mean, it has to do with the constitution of the country. But let me just read out one part from the preamble of the constitution, and which has been again and again being heard: equality of status, of opportunity, and to promote among them all. It said to promote among them all, whereas Congress has been again and trying to do it for appeasing a certain vote bank. Introducing a word secular in the preamble was part of that. And not only that, Shahbano case, it happened because of that. Even let's go back to Nehru again, sorry. Bringing 35A from the back door, even without making it through the process of Parliament, again was for appeasing a vote bank. So give me a second. And not only that, they have brought in amendment in Waqf Board. They tried to bring in communal violence bill, and all just keeping a vote bank in mind. So that's the level of faith they have in the Constitution, or they wanted to use the amendments in the Constitution for their political objective.
Okay. RP Singh, as I bring in Jyoti Mani back, you said Manipur is a different thing, but Manipur is also protecting the constitutional rights of the citizens of Manipur, no?
No, please, because there's a violence which is happening. There's a problem which has happened because of a court decision. So it's taking time for us to resolve that out, and then the process is on. And it's not happening for the first time. It has happened earlier also. That between the tribes there has been a flare-up, and then Government of India is already is taking care of it.
Okay. Jyoti Mani, the fact is, and the BJP is not very wrong if they quote examples from India's constitutional history and suggest that the Congress every time has looked at the Constitution as an aim to consolidate power rather than strengthen democracy. Be it the Shah Bano case, and India's political history is littered with examples like that.
Preeti, you have asked one question to BJP spokesperson. What are all the right amendments Congress has been brought? He ran away from the debate. So this is what happened from Prime Minister to spokesperson to ordinary BJP cadre. They are all actually spreading fake information. That too, because somebody is checking the fact also, that is a treason in this country now.
Okay.
So that's how the constitution is completely undermined. Not only freedom of expression.
Jyotimani, you're not answering the question that I asked you.
Somebody spreading lie, whoever it may be.
But you're not answering the question that I asked you because you've been accused, and many times rightly so, using the constitution to consolidate power rather than strengthen democracy.
I'm saying it's not. That's what I'm saying. Come by one amendment. I quote 73, 74 amendment. I quote previous. There, I will tell you 4 amendments. Rajiv ji brought, Indira ji brought, Nehru ji brought, Narasimha Rao ji brought 4 amendments. Extending SC/ST reservation for next 10 years. Narendra Modi ji also brought that amendment. So out of you quote 4 amendments for only one.
Okay, Sanjay Jha, 30 seconds, and I need to close the debate. Because the sad part is it will come down to this is what we did. We're not going to answer anything else.
Before you close the debate.
Preeti, I can't
okay, I'll come to you, sir. Sanjay Jha, 30 seconds, and I'll come back to you because it's 2 against 1 because we don't have Rajat anymore. Go ahead, Mr. Sanjay Jha, make your point.
I want to make 2 short points. Number 1, it is so disappointing and distressing that there is a debate on the floor of Parliament on the Constitution. The opposition is speaking and the Prime Minister was nowhere to be seen. And if you need any further proof of the disregarded...
But Sanjay Jha, Rahul Gandhi didn't attend the Prime Minister's speech as well. You only had the leader of the opposition chose to skip the Prime Minister's speech.
Let me finish my point. I did not ask you to interrupt me. I'm making my point, okay? Let the BJP contradict me. I'm making the point the Prime Minister of this country needs to send a message as to the gravitas of the items being discussed on the floor of Parliament. Point number 2, the ideological mentors of the BJP have openly said multiple times that Indian ethos is not consistent with the Constitution. Read Golwalkar, read Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, and read the RSS.
But Sanjay Jha, I'm sorry, it's not for the BJP. I'm the moderator. I don't know why is the skin so thin? Where every speaker is concerned, you will be asked questions. Rahul Gandhi, the leader of opposition, did choose to skip the speech of the Prime Minister.
Well, the rest of the opposition was present, Preeti. Mr. Gandhi may or may not have been there. The rest of the opposition was present.
It cuts both ways. That's the sad part. You can't decide to pick and choose. All right, 20 seconds, RP Singh. You wanted to make a point.
Well, when the Prime Minister was speaking on Manipur, they boycotted. They created ruckus in the Parliament.
But, sir, the Prime Minister wasn't there for anyone. He wasn't there for any of the opposition, be it Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi, or any of the other opposition leaders.
And also, they have used amendment in the Constitution for objective of promoting the dynasty and also consolidating Muslim vote bank.
All right, I'm gonna just leave it at that. Sadly, it's just been an example of what's playing on in Parliament. I appreciate all our guests for joining us. Thank you, Sanjay Jha, Jyotimani, Nirja Choudhry, RP Singh, as well as Rajat Seth. You decided to choose to exit the debate. And closing on a very, very sad note, Zakir Hussain, legendary tabla player, who took his music beyond borders, mixing traditions with new ideas. His skills with rhythm brought him worldwide recognition, and his performances were deep as much as they were moving. Through working with musicians from different styles, he showed his versatility. His legacy will endure, it will inspire, as the tabla falls silent. Leaving you